Hey folks, welcome to another edition, the first 2019 edition here back in Michigan for Posi-TIPS with Rachelle. Folks, I hope your 2018 was fantastic, but I hope your 2019 is even better. Folks, I just had a blast back home in Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana for 3 weeks for the holidays. It was fantastic. And every time I go home, my mother always finds some long lost item of mine, and I'm always so excited to see whatever it is again. And this time it was one of my shirts that I used to wear. So it was at Keesler Air Force Base, so Biloxi, Mississippi. You know that's one of my childhood homes. At this time, my father was the youth director for the Dependent Youth Activities Program at Keesler Air Force Base back in the day. So that's why we ended up in Biloxi after he got out of the Navy. So this was one of my shirts when I played softball. And so, I played, multiple sports growing up. Softball, member of the swim team, and track and field. I was a sprinter in track and still actually sprint. But this made my day. I was so excited, folks. I used to play shortstop and used to absolutely love it. So anyway, I had to kick off the episode with that. Just brought such a smile to my face to see that. And so, yes, I will be displaying that prominently somewhere in my house. I haven't found a location, but I'm certain to find a location soon. And so, folks, to kick off 2019, I want to have a recap of my visit, just a wonderful visit back home in terms from a fitness perspective and my experiences the last few weeks there. And I actually had an opportunity to go back to the Baton Rouge Club of Planet Fitness on January 2nd. Had a good time, as well as went back to Biloxi. Had an opportunity. We went and saw my sister again. So was back in the Biloxi Club as well in the latter part of December. But this time, folks, want to talk about, and in the frame of this, speaking of my experiences back home, this is actually going to be in the framework of marketing, just kind of unexpected. It was certainly not planning this. I actually hope to kick off a new marketing series in early March, but I'm going to share certainly some tips, some best practices that have happened unexpectedly during my visit back home, but not surprisingly, but certainly unexpectedly. But this is January, and as you know, December and January is always a hot times in terms of the direct mail pieces and other marketing materials that essentially we all receive, from various entities. And so this actually one made me smile. So this one came when I was gone, my old gym, Powerhouse Gym in Novi. And so they're actually doing something new, a complimentary, bring this in and receive a complimentary guest pass for you and a friend. And so starting to see an awakening there in terms of marketing. This is the first time in years. I was a member there for 5 years, but would get their pieces before I became a member when I was at Valley Fitness in Novi. But this is actually something new for them. So they typically charge $20, a $20 guest fee per person. So this is worth about $40. So hey, I continue to wish them well. There's gym is certainly in my past and will not be repeated in my future, but I certainly wish them well, and I'm excited to see them moving forward, particularly from a marketing perspective, to have more compelling offers in terms of what they're doing these days. And I know I shared this one, the final episode of 2019. This was a Happy Holidays mail piece that I received from my gym, and they had some nice promotional offers, sales promotional offers, and so it was very, very, very cool to see that. Same execution, actually different execution of the essentially the same theme, holiday theme, holiday, happy holidays. This actually was in the Novi Club, at the front desk, so a different execution of a very similar concept. So we're going to talk more about that. I'm saving all of these for marketing, but certainly both were fantastic materials. Back in the Baton Rouge Club of Planet Fitness, they actually had some marketing pieces targeted towards their seniors. It was really nice. We'll talk more about that. Folks, this time got a few pieces from Crunch, some of the others. I can't spend the whole episode going through the pieces that I received. I'm going to save that for March, hopefully, for a formal marketing episode. But folks, got to recap what happened back home, and I would be remiss not to do this. And I'm going to be incredibly generous in this episode, and I'm just telling you that in advance. You may want to take some notes on this particular episode. This is actually material that I will be utilizing on a professional level, and you always know there's a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes that I don't reveal, that I don't tell you about, but certainly I'm going to reveal some of that and share some of that. And some of my thought processes and things like that with this particular visit from a consulting standpoint, from a leadership development standpoint, just a lot of great stuff here. And so I'm going to share a good bit of it with you, but certainly not all. Have to reserve that, don't give everything away, certainly for free, but certainly want to help you out and just encourage you just to challenge your thinking a little bit as you're moving forward. So I want to kick off with actually 3 different Planet Fitness adventures, encapsulating my visit back home, just some of the feedback. I always like to do the member surveys for respective clubs. I certainly have to visit the club twice, at least twice, but that's certainly not always the case. In order for me to write a review, I just like to see strong, consistent, patterned experiences, and certainly that's when I do reviews. I don't believe in participation trophies. I don't do anything of that. It certainly takes a lot in order for me to do that. And so have to just kick off this episode by telling you, I've been at this fitness game a very long time. In May, I will be celebrating my 25th year of gym fitness in different states and gyms in different countries. It's just been fantastic, folks. But I would be remiss not to kick this off, essentially, these PF adventures, by not throwing myself. I have to throw myself under the bus. I would be remiss not to do that. And certainly one thing you all have heard me say, for those who follow me long enough, you know that I have a very strong preference for large gyms. It's just been that way. That's just been my history. 80,000 square feet, 100, 120,000 square feet, 150,000 square feet, multiple basketball courts, just all of that. That's been in my history. Very large gyms. Actually, Valley Fitness in Novi was probably the smallest. I think that was probably around 40,000 square feet, but it was certainly bi-level and was a nice size and just a great gym. And so want to kick this off. Have to start with the newest location of the Planet Fitness on Erie Drive, which is approximately about 2.5 miles from my parents' house. And so we're going to recap. I want to quickly recap. Don't want to make this episode too long, but want to quickly recap, how I found out about this gym, whatever, this and that. Just some of the things that came together to enable me to actually step foot in the place in the first place, knowing that I have biases towards smaller gyms. Okay, when I lived in Louisiana back in the day, this used to be a Rite Aid. It's been a couple of other things, but you can just inherently tell. You think about the size of a CVS or a Rite Aid or Walgreens, those types of places. Certainly, mentally, at least in my mind, did not seem conducive enough, big enough for a fitness facility of my liking, just of what I'm used to and what my preferences are. And so, going back, and I know I shared this with you just as a best practice on the sales advantage, the last episode of 2018 highlighted Ryan Lowe, who's the district manager for that area, the Shreveport-Bossier area, which is certainly, on fire. They own the market from a fitness perspective. But highlighted him and how the fact that, I stopped into the pre-sale office on October 22nd and went in and essentially said, hey, I just want to get some information. My parents live very close to this gym, particularly my dad. My dad is, been into fitness and has an undergraduate degree in physical education, been a member of a couple of gyms there in the Shreveport-Bossier area. And, when is this gym opening? That was my biggest question. And he told me, 1st to the 2nd, the 7th of December is what we're targeting. And then he went on into a sales presentation, and I just, went along with it and learned a lot. I learned a lot from him. And I look back now in hindsight, and I realized how important that interaction was in terms of stimulating my interest. Now, in a future episode, probably in that marketing series in March, I'm going to highlight the AIDA model, the AIDA model, which is so important from a marketing and certainly from a sales standpoint in terms of, number one, the AIDA, awareness, interest, desire, and action is what that acronym stands for. And so just my interest and just how that interaction with him really piqued my interest. And I initially had told myself, even prior to going for the holidays, I had that great conversation with Ryan, learned a lot. He was able to paint a picture of what that gym was going to look like. So prior to my stepping into that pre-sale office, I'm like, you know what? I want to see if my dad's interested in this. This will be a good fit. It's real close to where they live. My mom has her workout stuff at home. She's not a fan of going out to gyms and that kind of stuff. So, Dad, let me see what this option is for my dad. So, learned a lot about that gym and said, okay, well, this is going to be a good option for my dad, but certainly not for me. I'm just going to work out at the other 3 locations as they're big gyms, and that'll be great and whatever, this and that. But after talking to Ryan, it kind of piqued my interest and said, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just got to go in and walk around and take a look. And so when I stepped foot in there for the very first time on December 18th, and that was my, I'm just going to take a quick walk in here, see what this looks like, and then head over to the gym on East Burke-Coombs. And so I stepped in there, folks, and I'm just going to read the feedback that I sent to corporate. I'm always very detail-oriented. I paint a picture of what I experience in all of these situations, not only with this type of feedback and all the type of feedback that I receive, and that's why I've gotten a lot of feedback on my feedback. People really appreciate my feedback. And so, but I'm just always happy to give it. But so I'm going to just quickly recap this here. I'm going to read what I wrote. I'm a happy and proud member of the Planet Fitness, or PF, in Commerce, Michigan. I come back home to this area to visit family from time to time. I had a blast visiting this club numerous times while in town recently. My only regret is I wish someone could have filmed my reaction the first time I walked in the morning of December 18th, 2018. I vividly remember being frozen in my tracks while being scanned in at the front desk. I looked around in amazement and surprise. This was the first PF club I visited that has predominantly matrix, cardio, and weight machines. I have seen those in other gym chains, but was so impressed to see them at this Planet. The cardio machines had individual fans, which reminded me of a competitive gym I used to belong to in the area, Bel Air Fitness, that you all have seen me do episodes on and from, that had Star Trek machines with fans. Those fans are quite a competitive advantage. The weight machines with motion and rest period timers were nice also. Admittedly, I tend to be biased in favor of large gyms in general. I remember this club's location as being a Rite Aid when I lived there. I stopped in the pre-sale office on October 22nd, 2018 during a previous visit to Shreveport and spoke with Ryan Lowe, district manager, and he told me about the club. I was seeking club information from my father since that club is about 2.5 miles from my parents' home. That conversation with him opened my eyes, and I decided I would visit the next time I was in town after it opened. I was there to help someone else, and I ended up being helped. Also, I was at this club on December 29, 2018 in the early morning. I noticed one of the Bossier City Club's employees, Leo, was there talking to the young lady who works the overnight shift at that club. She was always cordial when scanning me in during my visits. She is very social and lively. A little later, I noticed that Leo was working the front desk. As a team player, I figured he must have been filling in for someone. Before leaving, I requested a hydro massage bed and started handing him my key tag to scan. He said, "Oh, I don't need that. I know who you are. I've seen you at the Bossier Club before." The fact that he remembered me got my attention. It wasn't my home club or his assigned club, but I felt like he treated me no differently than he would have a member of his own club. When I left, he was helping someone at the desk, but looked up and said, "Have a good one, Miss Smith." I'm so glad I pushed my own biases aside and gave this club a chance. The technologically advanced cardio and selectorized weight machines, coupled with the strong layout, made this club an excellent choice. The staff was friendly and attentive to the gym floor. This club taught me the value of not judging a book by its cover, pun intended. Great things do come in small packages. Thanks for all of the staff's hospitality, and I look forward to future visits. And I want to make a quick comment here before I move on to another PF adventure here in this area. And from a marketing perspective, and I've highlighted this. I did actually an entire episode on some best practices, some marketing best practices from this area, and actually specifically, more specifically, the Kansas/Louisiana Sutherland group, who owns these clubs in this area. And bar none, I always do leadership sketches of just various entities, and just certainly marketing is bar none just a tremendous strength of this franchise group. And so when I think about this particular gym and this incredible experience that I had that was eye-opening and just shattered my own biases that I brought into the equation, having technologically advanced equipment, particularly in 2018, with just how technology is driving so much in our society, is a tremendous marketing advantage. I mean, you think about the club, giving tours, when you're able to look and see equipment that you're not seeing, certainly in clubs in that area, and certainly machines that I haven't seen and any other Planet Fitness locations in the various Planet Fitness adventures that I've been on. So in terms of selling the club, either during a tour, or even I'm thinking one thing that certainly came to my mind was the media. Yes, they've done media. They've done direct live shoots from the Planet Fitness location of that Burt Coons location that I'll be talking about here momentarily. They've done live feeds there, and so I think it's so important, particularly I'm thinking future forward, is that particular gym would be a great location just because of the equipment that they have and the fact that, it's top notch and all of that, and technologically advanced. And so from a media perspective, having shoots from right there, highlighting that equipment in the background as a backdrop would just be fantastic. And so I certainly thought to myself, I've done in-club episodes for Fitness Fridays, and I'm thinking from a Planet Fitness perspective, if I do one inside of a club, it will more than likely be that club, just again to have that equipment in the backdrop. So think about that from a marketing perspective. When you have something new, when you have something unique, when you have something innovative, it does the job. From a marketing perspective, it just really highlights the competitive advantages of those machines or of that equipment or the facility itself, regardless of what the name or what the brand of the fitness facility is. Or it could be a YMCA, it could be a private gym, it could be a community gym, whatever the case may be. Just in life, we think about even cars. Okay, I live in the Motor City. Okay, we've got all the new bells and whistles and features, heavily technologically driven with Apple CarPlay and all of that. So again, why is that? And they're charging more for those features. Or having those, and some upgrades are certainly required to have those. But why is that? Technology is a huge, and technological advancement is a huge marketing advantage, but oftentimes helps companies, businesses, and entities charge more for products or service. So had to admit that, folks. I was wrong. I misjudged that gym and said that it's going to be small. I have no interest in that gym. Didn't want to step foot in there. Just told myself I was going to run in, take a quick look, and go on to the next location. And blew me away. So that is certainly an example. I'll be talking about that for years from a training perspective, but also just from a marketing perspective, from a leadership development perspective, just blew me away, and I just had to share that. But quickly want to move on to some Planet Fitness, some feedback that I shared regarding the flagship or the Burt Coons location. This feedback states, I'm a happy and proud member of Planet Fitness or PF in Commerce, Michigan. I come back home to the Shreveport-Bossier City area to visit family from time to time. This club is right around the corner from my undergraduate alma mater, LSUS. I had an enjoyable visit to this club a few times while in town recently. It's cool to see the growth and changes each time I come. I never feel like a visitor. The staff is always cordial and friendly. This time, I noticed the new hydro massage bed screens. I noticed the difference in water temperature while on the hydro massage and in the shower. Great stuff. Let me quickly digress here. And then when I stepped into that club, when I visited that club, and it was funny. The very first time I visited that club, on that visit, it needed a code. Something was going on with the hydro massage bed, so it needed a code. But the young lady at the front desk actually walked me over and put in the code. And I said, and then I'm looking at it, and I said, "Oh, you guys got new screens." And she says, "Oh, you're the only one that's noticed that." And I thought to myself, young lady, I noticed everything about everything. I'm just detail oriented, but just had to share that. It was funny. Oh, back to the story now. So on December 24th, so Christmas Eve, I was on the second level on the recumbent stepper. I was literally staring into space when I looked down and saw the new manager, Justin, walking the gym floor and ensuring things were in their right places. A piece of paper was on the floor and he picked it up. He definitely has pride in the facility. I interacted with him during a couple visits while requesting a hydro massage, and he was always cordial and professional. Also, as I was leaving that same morning, I arrived at the front desk to request a hydro massage. Another guy arrived before me and requested a tanning bed. Xavier, assistant manager, asked to see his key card to scan him in. The guy said he didn't have one and that he was a guest of someone. I was very impressed with the way Xavier handled that situation. He was polite, empathetic, and cordial in his response. He was tactful, and the guy handled it well also. I just happened to be randomly standing there waiting and was glad to see what I consider a textbook example of how those issues should be handled. Xavier was professional and cordial and allowed the guests to save face. I have no doubt the guests will end up joining at some point. On a sad note, your club lost a real fitness champion, Anna Holt, who passed away on December 23rd, 2018. She and my dad worked together for years, and in late November, she told me how my dad could get a discounted PF membership with a Medicare Advantage plan. In her early 80s, she really liked this gym, and she and I were supposed to meet up at the club after Christmas to catch up, but she passed away. She loved this club and raved about it to everyone. Her memory lives on. Finally, I attended the early service at Morning Star Baptist Church on December 30th, 2018, and Pastor Theron Jackson mentioned Planet Fitness's $10 a month membership during his sermon. Your marketing efforts are definitely working. This town is truly painted purple and gold, and not just for LSU. Thanks for the hospitality, and I look forward to future visits. So I want to quickly point out a few things. And so the new manager, Justin, doing an excellent job, and very cordial, very professional, and I definitely saw myself in him. And I thought to myself, this man right here means business. He's very nice, very cordial, but you definitely know, as I think people who meet me or even you watching this episode, I'm sure you definitely kind of know I have that little edge to know that I mean business. And so it's so cool just to see the changes and to see the growth in this market. And certainly, as this is an emerging market for Planet Fitness, Planet Fitness owns the market already. From 2014 to 2017, they dominate that market. Just other gyms are just doomed. We'll have to talk about that on a future episode, but in a very short time period, they've achieved market dominance in this area, the Kansas/Louisiana Sutherland group. So I've been able at the front end to see these growth and to see these changes. Whereas in Metro Detroit, I was a member. I mean, I think I joined Planet. They already had like 30-something clubs in Metro Detroit, so it's tough to kind of see the growth. But I'm certainly enjoying seeing the growth even in this market, to seeing the continuing clubs grow in this area. So it's exciting stuff. Second quick point I want to make here: Xavier, the assistant manager, he scanned me in when I first came in. It was during another visit before December 24th, and I saw his name, and I thought to myself, Xavier. I remember seeing his name on one of the screens at the East 70th street location of the Planet Fitness there in Shreveport, and I thought to myself, okay, I remember seeing his face and his name on all of that. But anyway, he was scanning me in, and so was just very, very professional. But the way he handled that situation, where the guy wanted to use the tanning bed and he was not a Black Card member, he was there visiting with someone, a guest of someone that had a Black Card membership, and he handled that so well and so professionally. And as I've mentioned in previous episodes, it's been a few months since I mentioned this whole concept of comfortably compliant. When I think about the research that I've done, being a member of Planet for a year and a half and about 19 months now, when I think about the one issue, looking at literally thousands of reviews, I've researched this and I've studied online reviews for the major online review of businesses or companies for different clubs across the country, studied reviews, as well as on the main Planet Fitness Facebook page, and I come back to this key issue of being comfortably compliant. Yes, Planet Fitness is a very compliance-driven organization, meaning there's a lot of rules and procedures relative to other fitness facilities. And so how those, as any compliance-driven organization, how compliance is handled in terms of being enforced is so important. Because either you have a situation where people, as Xavier did with that guy who wanted the tanning bed, was very cordial, very professional, allowed the guy to save face, handled it extremely well, versus a situation where it's not handled well, and then the person goes on, and then there's negative word of mouth, and you've heard the quote in the statistics: one person has a bad experience, and then they're telling 10 other people. But now with social media, you've heard me say this a gazillion times, people are going on writing online reviews, complaining about your club, not only on the individual club page, and in a situation like this, on the main Planet Fitness Facebook page, you have people going on complaining about various clubs, and corporate is seeing that. And so when I think about how this was handled and just how professional this situation was, I was definitely a textbook example, and I just happened to be standing there observing this, and particularly from someone in a leadership role. He's an assistant manager, so it was just wonderful the way that was handled. And I thought about just the benefit of this from a marketing perspective again, because why? Okay, I mentioned Kansas/Louisiana Sutherland Group, one of their key strengths, bar none, is marketing. I mean, just that's how you achieve market dominance in such a short amount of time. Okay, and so marketing is your, in my opinion, your biggest strength coming out of that market. Okay, from a marketing perspective, this group, and I wonder from doing a mental leadership sketch, and I did this while I was in Shreveport, I wonder if there's an athlete, perhaps the person who owns who runs the particular franchise group. Is there an athlete in there? Is there an athlete on the team, within that particular group? Because I'm just seeing an offensive strategy, and what's commonly said in sports, the best defense is a good offense. And so what I see is a very offensive strategy that this group executes and is executed extremely well, that has enabled them to be very successful. But an offensive strategy means we're going to handle, it's taking a step back, we're going to handle situations to prevent a lot of negative word of mouth, a lot of negative ramifications, a lot of negative social media postings and all of that, because your reputation is so important. And this whole concept with social media and going to online reviews, and why I keep mentioning it ad nauseum, is the concept of borrowed trust. Borrowed trust. Google that, learn more about that concept, particularly if you're in a leadership role, borrowed trust, where people are looking at reviews, as I do all the time. What have other people experienced? I'm highly likely never even met this person, will never have a clue who they are, but I'm trusting them. I'm trusting their words, I'm trusting their experiences, particularly for me, if I'm seeing patterns. All right, and so what Xavier did from a marketing perspective was huge, because he prevented a situation where this guy's going to run off and complain and tell 50 people about how ticked off he is and how they didn't handle it well. And I know when I see that, even for Planet Fitness clubs, when I see that the lack of comfortable compliance, where people are getting ticked off and running and posting how the situations aren't handled well, particularly with enforcing compliance issues, that keeps me from going into clubs, and that certainly does for people who have no or very little fitness motivation to even step foot into a club anyway. So from a marketing perspective, that was huge. You know, he protected that franchisee, the franchise group whose biggest strength is marketing, by preventing negative marketing, because that could have gone just in a horrible direction. It ended up with negative reviews, and you see that all the time. The manager did this, the manager did this, not just only a Planet Fitness or the assistant manager or a staff member or this person working at the front desk, but it was huge. So being comfortably compliant, meaning that situations are handled with tact, with respect, with dignity, but also preventing the negative blowout where people are complaining to corporate and posting complaints on the main social media pages for any type of fitness facility, not just Planet Fitness. So that was huge. Think about the offensive strategy here. Lastly, again, the best defense is a good offense. When I look at the TVs that are set up sideways in those clubs, and I'm seeing things like problem with the locker room, let us know. Okay, that's an offensive strategy. Why? Because you don't want people going on to social media or telling their friends how nasty your club is. So that's an offensive strategy. Another thing I see, question about your annual fee. Again, that is huge in this industry, a tremendous in terms of how it's handled at various clubs. A lot of negative publicity, a lot of negative word of mouth, a lot of negative online and offline complaints about that. And also, you know, no external trainers. One thing we've definitely seen in this club that I haven't seen in any others is, you know, that we have only one trainer for this particular club, and no external trainers, which is huge, particularly as a vulnerability for this franchise, because you're allowed to bring a guest for free. And the potential there to bring in a person who may be a personal trainer, somebody operating a personal training business there, is huge. So just wanted to share that. Also, another marketing tip for you I wanted to share, they had a blood drive. They partnered with LifeShare Blood Centers and had a blood drive right there in the flagship location of Planet Fitness on East Burt Coons on January 3rd. It was a couple of hours block of time, but just a great marketing idea. And like I told you, I don't know who their marketing person is on staff or perhaps a group or somebody they contracted, but they are not paying. I don't know what they're paying them. They're not paying them enough. I can tell you that. They're doing a tremendous job for that group. But lastly, folks, wanted to close out with the Bossier City Club. And as you recall, 2 weeks ago, I actually kicked off the Fitness Fridays, Posi-TIPS, wearing this hat. I was actually outside of the flagship location there in Shreveport, Burt Coons, wearing this hat. And this hat is actually, I'm going to describe how I got this hat here on this Bossier City, Louisiana Club feedback that I shared once I got back to Michigan and sent this feedback. Once again, I'm a happy and proud member of the PF in Commerce, Michigan. I come back home to the SBC or Shreveport Bossier City area to visit family from time to time. I would be remiss not to comment on the exceptional experience I had at this club the morning of Sunday, December 30th, 2018. Miss Jeanette greeted me warmly when I came in. I noticed there were a lot of Planet Fitness New Year's Eve hats on the table by the front desk. Folks, there was a ton of them, just to quickly digress. All right, I asked, are those for sale? How much are they? Miss Jeanette cordially told me they were free and to take one. I was surprised and shocked. I said, are you serious? They're free? She told me yes, and to take one. I was overwhelmed by the generosity and kindness. After my workout, I showered and got dressed for church. I asked Miss Jeanette to please take a picture of me with a hat. She graciously complied, made small talk, and told me to enjoy the church service. When I reflect on my nearly 25-year fitness journey, this visit was a highlight. I greatly appreciated the fact that I was given a hat, even though Bossier City is not my home club. I expected to be told I couldn't have one because they were only for members of that location. I proudly used the hat while filming a fitness inspirational video the following week, and it is now prominently displayed in my living room. Gotta love it. Also, I visited the newer Shreveport Club on Uri Drive, and so this whole paragraph is about Leo. I wanted to share this feedback about how he did a great job while he was filling in for somebody at that other club that I highlighted first. So I won't read all of that, but anyway, wanted to make sure his club and his own management team was aware of what I thought and how he did a great job at a club that even wasn't his. All right, he was filling in over there. So, okay, going towards the end here. Finally, I appreciate Miss Jeanette and Leo both treating me no differently than their own club members. I felt valued as a member of Planet Fitness regardless of where my home club was. Their unique hospitality and respect is undeniably and greatly appreciated. and we're truly Louisiana lagniappe, and have lagniappe in quotes, experiences. Thanks for all the staff's hospitality, and I look forward to future visits. Quickly here, and I've shared this before, lagniappe is just a term, very common term in Louisiana that just means a little extra, a little something extra, above and beyond. All right, this is certainly something, this is part of just my own, how I live my own life. Lagniappe is a very, very important concept to me. I'm always striving in any and every situation to give a little extra, to do a little more than what is required. And so when I think about this, again, going back to marketing, when I think about, you know, these hats were retailing on the Planet Fitness store or the online store for $9.99 each plus shipping. And when I walked in there, folks, and saw the hats, and I think just a lot of hats, and they're giving the hats away, as I learned. And I thought to myself, as I, you know, oh, it's free, and went through all of that, and I was kind of, and I talk to myself sometimes as I'm mentally thinking in the locker room, I'm sitting there thinking, like, man, those hats are giving away. It was $9.99 hats away for free. But then I thought to myself, I had this conversation, now, Rachelle, you know, okay, so the biggest strength out of this group, this franchise group, is marketing. They're aware. It's $9.99 each, or whatever the cost that they paid is a very small cost in terms of the positive word of mouth that is going to occur from people walking around on New Year's Eve, or even, you know, even New Year's Day with these hats on. People are going to be going to parties, people are going to be out. Anyway, just the positive word of mouth is going to pay dividends. And I think about what has happened with me. I utilized that hat to kick off my first Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS of the 2019. So I had it. It's here in my living room. And so I entertain a lot. So people will be seeing this hat constantly, asking me about this hat, but also this is going to be one of my, as well as my experience with the newest location and how I had to overcome my own biases. These are going to be signature examples that I use in speeches, that I use in leadership, training and development, marketing, customer service, just some best practices there. So this is going to be talked about for years. This hat's going to be talked about for years. That's why I asked her to take a picture of me with the hat. I had on my church clothes and everything, because I'm going to be utilizing that picture for years and highlighting this experience for years. So you think about what the cost of was for this hat and the fact that it was given to me. All right, I'm not a member of that club. I mean, this is a whole nother conversation on customer retention and loyalty that could happen, but that was huge from that standpoint. But when you think about the marketing that has occurred with this hat, has paid tremendous dividends, okay, for this franchisee, not only obviously for that location, because it came up a lot while I was there, but for years to come. So overall, just for years to come, just was a home run for the franchise overall. All right, and so these are some examples, folks. I just wanted to share these examples with you and just some of my own experiences. And there was a lot here from a leadership development standpoint where, you know, Xavier handled the situation well, and just, you know, you tell people no. I mean, the answer can't always be yes. People always want to say the customer's always right. Well, in these situations, it's a compliance issue. The customer can't always be right. And so just did a tremendous job, but everyone did a tremendous job. And so I just had to highlight these folks. And yes, my club, and I always state that I'm a proud and happy member of the Commerce Club here in Michigan, the Commerce Country Club as I call it. They do an excellent job. Very happy at my gym. But in a role like mine, as it's been for years past, I've got to be objective in terms of, you know, taking a step back and saying, okay, I've got to, you know, whatever happens in this situation, if I walk into another club, whether it be Planet Fitness or non-Planet Fitness, I've got to show this staff, these management teams, fellow members, or just even fellow gym goers, the same level of respect, integrity, and consideration as I would in my own club. I've done that for years. I will always be that way because my credibility and integrity is very important to me. You know, people watching me, people listen to me, counting on that. They've grown to expect that, and they're going to continue to experience that. My credibility and integrity is very important. So that's why I like to share examples, and even including having enough humility to say, I was wrong. I misjudged the Uri Drive location, and that location knocked my socks off. I'm seeing equipment in there that I've never seen. I mean, totally matrix gym. And just a fantastic experience. And ironically, I ended up going to that location the most number of times during that particular visit. So the club I had never intended to step foot in. But after that conversation with Ryan Lowe, he really opened my eyes, and I said, you know what? I began to consider it. All right, but then spent most of my visits at that particular club and loved it. I mean, from a culture standpoint, it reminded me of the fitness club that's attached to a resort, that's a part of a resort. If you've ever been to a resort, you've been to their fitness centers, it reminds me a lot of that. You know, it had some nice high-end equipment I would have seen in an LA Fitness and a Lifetime Fitness and a 24-hour Fitness, but it was in Shreveport, Louisiana. So it just really was great to see that level of innovation. And just, you know, Louisiana's behind the curve, and just a lot of key performance indicators, economic indicators, education, just all of this behind the bottom of all of these lists. But when it comes to particularly Planet Fitness and innovation and technological innovation and integration into the clubs, just bar none, just doing a great job, just leading the charge. I mean, they've got wireless, everything is wireless, so you don't have to, people aren't plugging in their earbuds to listen to the TVs. It's all done over wireless via broadcast vision entertainment. So had a fantastic trip, folks, had a fantastic trip, but I just wanted to share these best practices, to share with you, from a customer service standpoint, from just what can you do to create these meaningful experiences. At some point this year, I'm going to cover Seth Godin's classic book, Purple Cow, talking about how to create raving fans and how to create, again, people like me. I just have these wonderful experiences during my PF or my Planet Fitness adventures, and I love to share them so you can learn. It's just, what are some things that you can do in 2019 to make your club have memorable experiences where people are writing feedback to corporate, where people are telling everyone they know, where people are displaying, your marketing materials or whatever, any apparel that you may have. It's easy. I mean, you've got to create meaningful experiences, and that's what I love to do. I don't give participation prizes. I don't highlight everyone and everything. I mean, I just can't do that. My integrity that's just unacceptable. All right, but when people create meaningful experiences, when I see people really making things happen, I'm very quick, inside and outside of the fitness industry, to share that feedback. I am known for my feedback. People love to hear my feedback because I'm very detailed, but also they know they can count on my feedback to be honest and to tell the truth and just really be objective in these situations. So folks, that's it for today. And I hope your fitness is off to a great start this year. And I can't wait to continue these conversations in 2019 and beyond on Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS with Rachelle. So stay tuned for more. And to remember, I'm positively passionate about your fitness